Hey everyone, welcome to the Mighty Books Podcast, where we sit down and chat with mighty authors about their books, message, writing successes, struggles, and other relevant authorship topics. I'm your host, Ryan M. Oliver, author of the Beasts of Men and Gods series. Now let's get started on today's chat. Again, welcome everyone to the very first episode of the Mighty Books Podcast. I'm your host, author Ryan Oliver, and I'm extremely excited to get things started. So to start up the episode, I would like to introduce our very first guest author, Tiiu Napp. Tiiu Napp is an author, professional keynote speaker, transformational coach, entrepreneur, and survivor of domestic violence. She's had numerous jobs, various careers, and earned many certifications and degrees. However, her greatest achievement has been her spiritual growth and her continued commitment to helping others embark on their own quests of self-discovery. She has been called a victim, a survivor, a thriver, and an inspiration to others. Healing the Holes in Your Soul is her first book. Today, Tiiu continues to spread her message of how understanding your inner voice can improve your self-worth, self-love, and self-esteem. Raised in the Canadian Pacific Northwest, Tiiu currently lives on the U.S. side. If you want to learn more about Tiiu and her book, visit healingtheholesinyoursoul.com. All right, we're here at the Mighty Books Podcast with Tiiu Napp, author extraordinaire. We're going to chat with her today. So Tiiu, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you. This is the very first episode, so it's going to be an exciting ride to get all the technical glitches and all the fun little bumps out of the way. So let's get started. I already gave you a quick little intro, so I want to know what the title. We all want to know what the title of your book is. What is the title of your book?
The title of my book is Healing the Holes in Your Soul. Your journey to freedom begins within.
All right. I love the title. What can you tell the listeners what the book is actually about? Just a little bit, little snippet.
I would love to give you a little mini snippet. It's a journey through domestic violence, how I came out on the other side, smelling like a rose. How's that?
Okay, I like it. Like a rose, nice. Let's see. So now what exactly inspired you to write a book? A lot of people just kind of pick up the pen sometimes, go to town, but usually that's not the case. There's usually a backstory to this. What inspired you to write your book?
There's a huge backstory on this one, but in a really condensed version. I was actually writing a different book, and I had hired Patrick Snow, my incredible book coach, who I met a couple of years ago now. And I asked him, I hired him to help me with this other book. And then when I had this incredible life experience, I'd traveled and when I came back from Estonia, that's where my family's from. When I came back from Estonia, I had seen some visions and stuff. So I was on the phone talking to Patrick, and he said, no, you need to write your own story. You need to talk to Dr. Michael Gross. And I thought, oh, who is this guy? And if you don't mind, I'll just talk about Michael for a minute.
Go ahead.
Okay. Dr. Michael Gross is the author of the Spiritual Primer. And I've always known that there's something out there in the world that I've been missing. I didn't know what it was. I honestly didn't know what it was, but I kept looking all my life for that missing piece. And when I met Michael, I called him. He lives about an hour from me. And I called him one day and I said, listen, I want to buy your book. Patrick Snow says that, I need to connect with you. And I'm hoping that Ryan, you'll talk a little bit more about Patrick Snow because he is an amazing book coach. Okay.
Yes.
But anyway, so we met because I wanted to meet the author of this book called The Spiritual Primer. And I thought, oh, yeah, so I met him at a little local restaurant. And when I sat there, I could feel his energy. And I thought, okay, wait a minute. There's something going on here. And I'll never forget this. I asked him, what's the difference between religion and spirituality? And his answer blew me away. And I'm just going to come out and say it right now because I was a church kid. I was raised in church. Every Sunday we got dressed up, went to church, right? And I kept thinking there's something missing. And when I asked my parents questions, sometimes they couldn't answer. And I thought, oh, maybe I'm just being a nosy kid. And what happened when Michael answered this question, everything on the inside started to explode for me. And what his answer was that religion sets a moral code. spirituality is your life experiences. And knowing what my life experiences have been to this point, all of a sudden, it was when he said that, it was like this energy exploded on my insides. And I'm trying to be cool. I'm in this restaurant with this guy that's an author, a very, very, accomplished author. And I'm sitting there clutching his book thinking, okay, be cool. Just be cool. Don't let him know that the insides are exploding.
Right.
And what that did was, I realized later, was I hired him.
Yeah.
I had to learn more about this incredible author. And that started my spiritual journey. And when I told him about my life through domestic violence, he was the one that kept saying, you need to write a book about your own story, not so much your family. Incorporate that in, and you can write that book later. So that book is like in a holding pattern under my table right now. But so there will be another book. There'll be another couple books that are already coming out.
That's fantastic.
But the bottom line was that he woke up something that I wasn't going to ever write a book because I didn't really like reading books. Reading books put me to sleep. I couldn't even finish a chapter in any book, and I'm like, I'm not going to write a book. I'll fall asleep trying to write it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know this is a long answer, but the bottom line was he kicked me, not, figuratively speaking, he kept encouraging me to write this story. And I'm so really honored and blessed that he's been working with me now for 2 years, because this book became a healing journey for me, and I really needed that. So it is a story about domestic violence, but it's so much more than that. And it brings so much hope and love through the pages. So I hope I answered your question. I got a little off track. Sorry.
No, actually, you're right on track. That's totally fine. I definitely agree with you on the writing journey. A lot of people use writing as a ways to heal and process, past traumas or events or emotions or just their day-to-day life. So it's great that you've been able to not only write and find some healing through your book, but you actually able to create and manifest this book, physical copy here that I actually have sitting on my desk right now. And it's fabulous. That's fantastic. So curious, how long did it take you to write your book?
Probably about 9 months.
9 months? That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's like birthing a baby.
Yeah, it's about the same.
Having a baby.
Yeah, that's fine. What time did you? I know we chatted a little bit before, but are you a night writer or a morning writer? Daytime? What time do you like to write?
I'm a night owl. I write at nights. Yeah, I'm a night owl.
I like it. Just because everyone's kind of, it's all dark and you can just focus on your own stuff.
Yeah, that's when people quit calling you.
That is very true. I don't answer nearly as many phone calls at late at night. That's for sure. So
2 a.m. Yeah, no.
Oh, how late do you usually stay up to get work done?
2.
What's that?
1, 2 in the morning.
Okay. Yeah, I've definitely done the same. About 2. I think the longest I've stayed up to about 3 or 4 in the morning sometimes when you get really going into it. It's hard to break that cycle. Yeah, it's really hard to break that zone when you're in it. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. What feedback have you gotten? I know I've told you mine. I thought it was fantastic. What feedback have you gotten from friends, family, people you didn't even know existed until they read your book?
My family hasn't read the book.
Okay.
It's kind of a thing, but the one thing I will say is that everyone who has giving me nothing but praise and a lot of positive feedback. One of the things that they've been saying too is that, wow, I can relate to that because even though you're telling your story, it parallels with mine. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of similarities that people are picking up on, and it's interesting that they're picking up on different parts, but we all have a different story. We have a different journey in our lives. We all do, and what they're realizing is that it doesn't matter where you come from. It really doesn't matter where you come from. It's, where you're going and who you become along the way. Mm-hmm. I have a couple of quotes here that I if it's okay, I'll just share, because I have a lot of quotes in my book.
Yes, you did.
But one of the things that I really go with is that Anne Frank wrote this one. She says, we can't control our destiny, but we can control who we become.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you're familiar with Anne Frank, right?
Oh, yes. Very much.
Okay. She wrote, one of the first, and I think this is really, really important. I refer to it in my book as well, is when I was a kid, one of my favorite books was The Diary of Anne Frank, because I admired her tenacity, her positive attitude, and the fact that even though she was in hiding during World War II from the Germans, her family was up in the attic in this one building, and even though she was in a very, very dangerous place, she still had the wherewithal to stay positive in her life. It didn't matter what was going on around her. She kept hanging on to that one thread of positivity. And I had the privilege to actually go to that place in Amsterdam. It was
Really?
amazing when you walk up the stairway into the attic where they were living, where her family was living, and you actually have an opportunity to touch the walls that she had left artwork on. It was amazing.
No.
I know I got off the path a little, but she also said that here's another quote: our lives are fashioned by our choices. First, we make our choices, and then our choices make us.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that incredibly profound because of the choices that I made in my life and how they made me who I am today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So good feedback, fantastic quotes, all good things. So you briefly touched on more books in the future. So
Yeah, I did.
1, 2, 3, 12. What's the unlimited? What's the future hold for you as an author for more books?
Well, like I said, there's one in the hopper
Okay,
that will
that's
be
fantastic.
finished.
That's
It's
fantastic.
more in honor of my parents who have the beautiful love story that came from World War II and how we all ended up where we did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the first generation born Estonian, which I mentioned a little bit in my book. I was born in Canada, and my parents during the war met in Sweden. They got out of the country. It was a pretty ugly scenario, but so that book is coming out, and I'll hold off on the title because it might still change. And then there's another one coming out because as I wrote the first one, I realized that there's certain things I didn't share. There's certain secrets that I didn't put in that book, although there are secrets in that book
Mm-hmm.
that I've never told anybody. So yeah, they come out in the book. And there's other things that I've learned along the way. When I work with Michael, not so much, now I've grown and developed a lot, but back in the early days, I cried oceans of tears sharing my stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there are times when we still go back. We can't be plagued by the past, but we have to acknowledge the past, grow from it, respect it, learn, forgive, and move forward.
Right.
So that's always, the past is always going to be part of our life, but it doesn't have to um, be more than a memory and a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before we were all consumed by things like the fear that I was in.
Yeah.
So that's going to be book 3.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. That's good. You'll have a lot to work on and to continue the healing and the process and reflecting and reminiscing too of old times to help better your future. That's great. What was one of those most surprising things that you learned in creating your book?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I think one of the most surprising things was that I realized that I've been looking, okay, this is going to sound so cheesy. So I was
Tease it
looking
up.
for
That's fine.
love and acceptance in all the wrong places.
Okay.
Yeah. I went in my book, I kept thinking, why am I doing what I'm doing? As I'm sharing these stories, I'm like, why did I even think that way?
Mm-hmm.
When I had options and I didn't recognize these options because at the time I was under a limited belief system.
Mm-hmm.
I believed I had to do what mom and dad told me to do and what society told me to do and all that stuff. And what I realized was that I wasn't following my own inner voice. I wasn't following my heart or my soul. I
Right.
didn't know. But what I realized was that um, everything I ever needed to know, all the answers really are within us.
Mm-hmm.
And when I trusted my own inner voice, was when all the beautiful things started happening. And I know this sounds a little bit maybe cheesy, but this is what Michael taught me.
Yeah.
He goes, you've always had that in you. And so when I started writing the book and I had all these things start to happen, I'm like, shut the front door. We manifest, one of Michael's quotes, his name is Dr. Michael Gross, for those of you who don't know who I'm referring to. He wrote the foreword in my book. And I mention him a lot in my book because he is the catalyst to why this book got written. And one of the things he says is what you think you create, what you create, you experience. So if you're living in fear and you're thinking fear all the time, then that's what you're creating in your life. You're manifesting something scary. And when you figure that out and start reprogramming your thinking, amazing things happen. I mean, stuff that's happened this last year, I'm like, shut the front door. I can't believe, I manifested all kinds of stuff and I didn't even know I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then one day I'd share something with Michael because we talk all the time. And I'd share, hey, guess what happened to me? And he'd go, yeah, you manifested that. I'm like, whoa. And it's true.
Yeah.
So what you think you create.
Yeah, it's true.
You create, what you create, you experience. So make sure you're thinking positive stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the mindset's very important. It's also what I found is like, if you're thinking, if you don't actually talk it out, you actually tell someone, bring up the ideas or something you're having problems with or whatnot. Sometimes it's kind of manifests and festers and just kind of sits there and doesn't actually do anything. And then when you actually open up and actually talk about it, tends to either you kind of realize, well, that was really silly. Why was I freaking out about this? Or, wow, this is actually quite profound. Why haven't I acted upon this? So writing is one way to open that door to actually get you to thinking and acting, and then having someone like Dr. Gross who can kind of sometimes have to pull it out of certain people, and then eventually it becomes habit. So it's really great that he was actually there to be, like you said, a catalyst for you in your life. That's fantastic.
Poor guy has to work so hard with me sometimes. It's funny.
And that's fine. That's what people act different ways, and they handle stresses in life differently. And so if you have certain people that just you connect with, it can be a blessing. So it's really great that the two of you got to connect. That's fantastic. So with your book, what do you hope others will learn from your book? I mean, we've kind of touched a little bit here and there, but I mean, what is the driving force impact that you want people to take away from reading your book?
They took one thing away.
Yeah.
If they took one thing away, it would be to trust their inner voice. Truly trust what you feel, because we all get so consumed with everything going on around us. We've got to go here, we've got to go there, we've got work, we've got family, we've got kids, whatever, and we get caught up. And I'll just say we get caught up in the minutiae of life, everyday life. Mm-hmm. We watch too much TV, we get, too much media influence. And the thing is that everything that happens around us silences our inner voice. Mm-hmm. And all the answers, I've known this all my life, but I just didn't realize that what I was looking for was here the whole time. I mean, heck, I went to Africa looking for what I had right here. Yeah. In my heart. Yeah. I had no idea. I went to Africa. I flew across the Sahara Desert. I went all over the country. I've been over to Europe, and I've been looking all my life for the one thing that was right inside me the whole time. Mm-hmm. The best thing to do is to silence the chaos in your head. Mm-hmm. Even if you can only, I meditate. Yeah. And if all you do is meditate for 10 minutes and put that outer noise on mute for a little while, it'll make all the difference in the world, because it allows the answers within you to come out.
Sure. Absolutely. That is awesome. That's very profound. So, I mean, but also traveling like you did, that really gives you some perspective on your own life and how the world is experiencing. So I'm sure that had an impact on you. Tell us a little about your travels.
Well, I've always been one who's passionate about traveling. I love photography, and it's always my excuse to go travel. Hey, I want to go take pictures over here. Mm-hmm. And I've always been like that. As a kid, my grandmother was, when I was 8 years old, gave me a little brownie camera. And I thought I'd gone to heaven.
Yeah.
So that's part of me. We all have gifts, and photography is apparently one of mine. And when I started traveling on my own, at first I was like, okay. I went to Estonia. The first big trip I took was over to Estonia when the Soviets were still there.
Oh, wow.
The Russians were still in the country. They had occupied it during World War II. And I went back to meet my sister, who was living over there trying to research family history. And it was, when you see a country that hasn't got anything on their grocery store shelves, and the whole culture of the country is so different than what you're used to. And you see people who have no food. If they go to the store, they're lucky if they find bread.
Right.
You see how they're surviving on the land and how they barter for their back and forth, and across the harbor, across the Baltic Sea in Finland, they had an abundance, food coming out of everywhere. And
Right.
yet 4 hours away, they had nothing. Going to Africa, when I did a mission trip to Africa, these children didn't have anything. I was up in the near the Nigerian border building a rescue unit for AIDS orphans, and these children had no parents. They were living up in the hills looking after each other.
Wow.
And the parents had gone, either one might have passed away, the other one was in the city looking for work.
Mhm.
And there was like a village that was taking care of the children, trying to make sure they had food.
Mhm.
It was, it opens your eyes when you travel. It
Yeah.
opens your eyes to be more grateful for what you do have here.
Yeah.
We live in a beautiful land of opportunity and freedom to, have our own voice and to do what, live our life the way we choose to. We need to hold on to the freedoms, they're here for a reason.
Yeah.
And I won't go into any kind of politics or religion or anything, because that's not me.
Mhm.
But we need to hold on to the things that we strongly believe in.
I totally agree. Well, thank you for that insight from your travels. Let's keep them moving. So we'll take a quick swing back to your writing and publishing process. What was the easiest aspect of writing your book? With not just writing, but publishing your book. What was the easiest part? Either more fun or easiest. You can choose.
I don't know that it was easy,
Mhm.
but Patrick is a huge, amazing book coach, because he sent me to all these people, like the editor, the layout people, the cover design. And I think the most, because I'm the photographer and I love the creative part, I love to create the cover.
Yeah.
That was really fun. But I don't, some of the other things were a little more challenging, because I was like, okay, well, I like this layout. Patrick said, no, this one's better. And I went to, okay, I trust the book guy, right?
Yeah. So for listeners who don't know who Tiiu and I are talking about, we're talking about Patrick Snow. He's the author of Creating Your Own Destiny, amongst several other books, in fact. But he has, over the last 20, 30 years, he's a publishing coach. He's a entrepreneur, speaker, international best-selling author. He's fantastic. He's a wonderful human being. He's fantastic. But he offers his services from his experiences as to get people published, including Tiiu and myself and several other authors that the two of us actually talked to. Actually, I believe Michael Gross also as one. So he is, and he has resources and knowledge that are they speak volumes and have helped people out in myriads of ways. So when we talk about Patrick Snow or Patrick, we're referring to hers and my publishing coach, writing coach. He's a coach of many aspects. If you're ever interested in actually chatting with him, fantastic guy to talk to. You can go to createyourown.com and chat with him and possibly set up a time to actually meet with him. So, and like I said, he's a fantastic person. So sorry to interrupt you, but I definitely wanted to clear that up before we kept moving and chatting about someone people have no idea what we're talking about. So you kind of talked, okay, so you did your easiest, the most difficult. Did you touch on your most difficult a little bit? What was the most difficult?
Most difficult thing?
Most difficult.
This is what's funny. I called Patrick many times, okay, and he's over in Maui now, and I kept he lives over in Maui now, and we work closely together with Michael Gross, Dr. Michael Gross. Patrick is the one that introduced, that connected me with Michael, as you know. And what was funny was the hardest part was, how do you stop your story when you're still living your life and you're writing your own autobiography? Where do you end it?
Yes.
Right. And I had a hard time because I kept thinking, I keep growing and changing. I'm working with Michael, and how in the world, where do I stop?
Mm-hmm.
And what Patrick told me was, you can write a second book.
Yeah.
Just stop somewhere. And I think more than anything, he said there's 100 different things that you need to decide when you're writing a book. I'm here to help you with your decisions because they can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And and he led me down this road to some amazing people who I would have met. So I'm really, and he taught me why. Why is this important? Why do you want to, why do you include this in your book? Why, and basically, I'll never forget, he said, choose a hardcover book because it's got a plunk factor. When you drop it on a table, people are going to look at it. And make sure that your book is something you're proud to put your name on.
Mm-hmm.
So there were reasons, and these are just a couple. He goes, your book will be the platform on which you speak.
Absolutely.
And I thought, oh, I'm never speaking. I'm just writing books. and then, can I keep going? Do you mind?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. Because Dr. Michael Gross, I just call him Michael. Like I said, he's the author of Spiritual Primer, and I'll give him a little here feedback as well. He said that he's been he's been a spiritual coach for 35 years.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot of other things. And if you want to learn more about him, he's at drmichaelgross.com.
Okay.
And he's also, like I said, he's written the book, The Spiritual Primer, and he's got a second version of it coming out very, very soon, which is going to also include the 12 protocols. And I can't wait for that because there's so much depth and wisdom that goes into that book that had it not been for reading his book, I wouldn't have written mine.
Yeah.
Okay. And he kept urging me to write mine.
Yeah.
But and then he kept saying, go back and talk to Patrick, get this and that. So it's like we've become a family. And I think more than anything, as an author, when you start connecting with other people in the industry of writing books and how to market the book, you create an amazing family of people such as yourself, Ryan. I wouldn't have met you had it not been for our books.
It's very true.
Yeah.
I would never have met you either. So it's and dozens of other people, which is just connecting with a lot of different folks with varying experiences and expertise.
That's right. And that's how we learn. We help one another, one person is mighty force, but when you unite several together, imagine the power of the written word.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and one of the things I know that Patrick said was, there's two things you leave when you leave this world. It's your children and your art.
Mm-hmm.
Your book is your art.
Yes, it is.
Your written word will be here long after you're gone. Make that written word matter and carry a powerful message.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember now. I think it was Les Brown who had a quote, and I don't have it exactly verbatim, but he said the graveyard is the richest place in the world because that's where dreams die.
Yes.
Books aren't written, songs aren't written, people give up.
Yeah.
And they take their dreams with them when they go.
Yeah.
And that's not the way we should live.
No, actually, this is a great segue for you. I know you have been, as you've been writing your book and developing your book and everything, you've also been talking about developing a coaching business as well. So other than being an author, I know you're working on your coaching. Can you talk just a little bit about your new coaching practice?
I would love to.
Awesome.
I'm really thrilled that I'm actually connecting with some people at the Alive Shelter, a battered women's shelter here in Bremerton.
That's
on
great.
Monday.
That's great. Congratulations.
And I thank you. I did the math, and it was 35 years ago when I walked through that door for the first time.
Wow. Wow.
And now I'm going back to share my books with them and let them know that, hey, you know what? We all have baggage. We all have baggage. We all come from, different walks of life, but we don't have to fall victim to that. Going there and sharing the books is a way to give hope to others who are still struggling where I used to be.
Yeah.
So on that, I'm sorry, I sidetracked a little bit on the question.
That's okay. Yeah, just go ahead and tell us about your coaching. That's totally great. What's like your coaching pitch? What kind of coach are you?
Question. Right now, I think I finally have the title to that one.
Okay.
I'm a trauma coach. Abuse creates trauma.
Okay.
Abuse creates trauma. And it's easy to, say, well, all you have to do is, suck it up and move on. And that doesn't work.
Very
because
antiquated.
Exactly. We have to find out what created, why were we so traumatically affected by whatever it was that happened?
Yeah.
And so my coaching is an opportunity for people to understand there's 6 types of abuse. There's actually a few more than that, but there's 6 types of abuse. And one of them obviously is the physical, the sexual, the mental, the emotional, neglect. We neglect ourselves. We have verbal abuse. We have financial abuse. There's cultural abuse, and the list goes on and on. And my goal is to help people raise their self-love, self-worth, and self-esteem. Because I even, in researching some of the statistics, 86% of the global population suffers with low self-worth.
Wow.
Well, now why is that? That's like 8 billion people on the planet, and 86% are suffering. So part of what I do is, it doesn't really matter what kind of trauma or abuse you've had. If there's something missing in your life, let's talk about it. And I offer a complimentary 30-minute consultation to help people identify what is the source of the, where are the issues? Where are the things that we can look at? Because we go through life and we have limited beliefs. We're raised based on what our parents teach us, what our schools teach us. And I think I mentioned this before, how society dictates what's right and what's wrong. But what happens is we get so buried under that we forget our own personal value system, what's important to us. And those answers are so buried deep sometimes that when we have something traumatic happen, we either, this is something that Michael and I learned this a long time ago. We freeze, we fight, or we flee. We do one of the 3. And I've done all 3, trust me. I've done all 3 many times. And I would actually run into what I called my rabbit hole to hide.
Yeah.
I would withdraw, I would get depressed or whatever, and I would run and hide in a rabbit hole, and I wouldn't come out for a long time.
Right.
We still do that. We all, when we have trauma, some people indulge in alcohol or overeat or whatever, so in my coaching, I help people find their way out of whatever they're looking at and give them hope that they too, there's 2 energies in the world. And Michael talks about this, love and all that's not love. He has a quote. Let's see if I have it here really quick. Okay, I don't have it handy, but basically what he's saying is, here we go. One of the things that he says is, within your heart, there lies an energy that is immutable and contains the primordial essence of the beginning of the universe, and it's called love. And it's true. There's a power in the energy of love that is stronger than anything else. You can overcome anything, whether it's fear or whatever, when you look at the energy of love. Nothing else can live in that. And I have become a proponent of that, because I realize that, we're made of love. We are love. That's how we all began. And Love is the only, and here's the other one I was going to say. Dr. Michael Gross wrote this. Love is the only energy that can never be extinguished, only set aside, but it's always there.
Right.
Ogmandino wrote one time that never in all the 70 billion humans who have walked on this planet since the dawn of time has anyone ever been exactly like me. Think about that.
It's true.
Why do we want so much to be like everyone else when we are already unique in our own way?
Right.
And part of my coaching is to help people find the essence of their own self-love, who they really truly are.
Awesome. Where if someone was listening to this and wanted to chat with you, how can they get a hold of you? Let's say they don't have your book yet. Let's say they have no idea. Maybe they don't even have anywhere to get your book. Well, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, I'm on Facebook.
Fantastic.
You can find me on Facebook. You can also call me. Just text me first, because I don't always answer if I don't recognize the number.
Okay.
But text me first, give me your first name and time zone that you're in. And my number is 480-223-7921.
Awesome.
One more time, that's 480-223-7921. Or you can email me at Tiiu Napp, TIIU NAPP, the number 3 at gmail.com.
Right.
And if you want to look more at the book, the website for the book is the title of the book, healingtheholesinyoursoul.com. And here's another one I need to put in there. Michael Gross and I do a Facebook Live every Sunday at 2 Pacific Standard Time. And we go up on my Facebook page and over onto his. I share it onto his page. And for 30 minutes, roughly, we talk a little bit. We talk a little bit more about our books. And then he gives a message, a powerful message. Every Sunday, it's different. And those recordings are always up there on my Facebook page. I never take them down. We've been doing that for about a year. So definitely connect with me. And he also does a call on Tuesday nights. It's I don't know. Do you want me to give the number?
If you want to, go ahead.
Okay. He does a call in every Tuesday night.
Okay.
And it's an opportunity it's at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time. And in this call in, it gives you an opportunity to call and ask questions about spirituality, the universe, or whatever is your burning desire. Okay. And that number is 202-926-1059. And the access code is 125446#. One more time, that's 202-926-1059. Access code 125446#. And if it's okay, Michael has put together a nonprofit for it's called the International Institute of Self-Empowerment. And I am honored to be the director of the division for people who have struggled with abuse. And we're still formulating the name for that division.
Okay.
But it's a 501(c), and it's going to be coming out really young. We've already got all the legal bells and whistles done. And very, very soon here, it's actually the website and everything is going to be up and live. So, watch us on the Facebook Lives on Sunday. We'll give more information on that as it goes live. It's our way to help other people like me who have come from abuse to find their self-worth, self-love, and self-esteem and move forward into a life that they choose to have.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you for speaking on that. And it's really great that the two of you are working together. And like you said, more people, more minds, more positive thinking together will only make a better difference. That's fantastic. And then I know from reading your book that you also work with is it a company, Thrive?
Actually, the product is called Thrive. The company is called, the product's called Thrive. And if you want to learn more about that, you can just contact me. I have to be very careful regarding compliance. So
okay.
The product name, So the product name is Thrive, and it's a nutritional supplement that fills the gaps that we have in our bodies that we're not maybe eating correctly. It's a way to help you with making a healthier body. I'm trying to, if you have discomforts in your joints, it helps with that. The company is about, I want to say close to 10 years old. I think it'll be 10 years old this year.
That's awesome.
It's grown very, very quickly. It's already reached, a good level of, there's millions of people that are thriving now. So if you ever see people wearing a funky looking sticker, it's probably a Thrive sticker, especially if it's got beautiful colors on it. I mean, if your skin is your largest organ, why would you not feed it, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. So if people are interested in learning more about that, they can contact you. Same thing with getting hold of you with coaching. They can use the same numbers to get a hold of you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm a multifaceted gal. I'm a photographer. I'm an author. I'm a thriver. I'm a grandma.
Yeah.
All I can, one of the simple story that I can give right now is I was a slug on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
Thought, I'm 60 something years old and I have nothing left. I have no energy, and give me the gosh darn remote. Let's see what's on TV. And then one day somebody said, hey, have you heard of Thrive?
Mm-hmm.
It's a product put together by Lavelle, LE-VEL. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I do have I will share my link. It's globalfitness.le-vel.com.
Okay. Awesome.
But on top of that, I tried it and I thought, it took me 10 days. And then all of a sudden I was off the couch, climbing to tall buildings. I climbed the Space Needle a few times, the Columbia Tower a few times. And the next thing you know, I'm driving halfway around the country, to conventions and stuff. And awesome. I don't even know where the remote control is anymore. I don't camp out on the couch.
You don't need those things.
I write books.
Yeah, yeah, me too. You don't need those things.
No, I write books and I got my black belt in Taekwondo.
That's awesome. That is remarkable to go from, like you said, just have a slug on the couch to writing books, running up and down a lot of stairs. That part I don't get, but that's fine. And getting a black belt in Taekwondo, that is so cool. That is a great accomplishment. And then
all of this is done. I just have to say, and all of this is done after I reached the age of 65.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's impressive. I know people who are in their early 30s and are still struggling with just getting out of bed. So, I mean, you're doing good stuff. You're doing good stuff.
I can help with that. And who knows where it's going to open up. When you feel good on the inside, you can do amazing things. And, like Michael says, what the mind can believe, the body will achieve.
Yeah, absolutely.
I never knew I could climb those stairs.
No. Stairs are hard. I'm not a fan of stairs, but I have to use them. It's a thing. I want to touch on your photography. You sent me a message about your photos are getting used in like news accounts now and in articles and such. That's fantastic. Can you chat a little bit about that?
I would love to. Awesome. Years and years ago, photography was my shield. I was such a shy gal that, like a little wallflower, when I went anywhere. The only reason I went anywhere was take photos, and that was with a camera in my face. I could actually talk to people.
Okay.
And I would be this this person that says, okay, stand over here, the lighting is better, that kind of thing. And somewhere along the way, I started entering different contests and whatnot. And to make a long story short, I got prompted by many people. You should enter this contest, you enter that contest. And I was honored. I'm going to share this really quick. That Frisky's Cat Food had a contest. They were looking for images for their next calendar. And it was a $10,000 cover prize if you got the cover picture, if you shot the cover picture. And to make a long story short, I didn't win the 10,000, but I won a $5,000 semifinal spot. And I was flown to Universal Studio with my cat, because it was a cat food thing.
Wow.
With my cat and my kids. And I went to Universal Studio, where I had the honor of meeting Betty White.
Oh, rest in peace.
And that was like the shake the dust off the camera. Let's start again. So my pictures have actually been published several times. And then of course with life, I quit doing it. I quit doing it. I put it aside because I was a film girl and my digital camera didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I was like, you can't talk butterfly to caterpillar. It doesn't work. So I hired Doug McKenzie of McKenzie Images to be my photo coach.
Oh,
And okay, he lives on Bainbridge Island. And he has a website, I believe it's McKenzieImages.com, but you can connect with me on that and I'll connect you if you want to learn more about that. But I took a photo the other day hanging out of my car window. And I won't go into details, but he said, okay, send it to Como, our TV news people, right?
Yeah.
So I sent it. I followed his directions. I sent it to him and they published it. It's up on Chime In on Como TV on their website.
That's awesome.
And I thought, oh no, he's gone and unleashed the photographer in me all over again. Now, if you look at the if you look at my website, if you go to my book website, Healing the Holes in Your Soul, you'll see black and white images that come into the website. Those are ones I took.
That's so cool. That's nothing is going to drive you more than positive feedback and some recognition.
Well, photography always fueled my soul. Now it's your passion fuels your soul. Whatever, find your passion, whatever it is, whether it's cooking or fishing or whatever you love to do, find your passion.
Yeah.
It's going to fuel your soul and keep you going.
It does.
And it doesn't hurt every now and then if it gets published or you win a contest and you earn a few bucks.
No, that never hurts. I will never say no to winning something that I worked hard at trying to do well at. That's the thing. That's something that's fantastic. Congratulations on your photography. I mean, it sounds like you're doing.
Now I'm learning how to use my digital camera instead of my film camera because you can't buy Kodak film anymore.
I learned how to do all sorts of cool things with film. It's a little harder to do. Digital is definitely a little simpler and you can do a lot more, a lot faster, but there's something about using film cameras. I will say that right now.
Hey, I had my own black and white darkroom.
Oh, that's even cooler. We had ours in our high school and we got to use all the fixers and different chemicals to go about it and the different zoom in machines and everything. And then actually had to go in there and blindly change out the film and put it in the fixer before you had to develop. It was a process. It's a process. I really feel I really gained a new respect for photographers who use film cameras over digital. I'll say that right now. So let's see. Let's take a look here. So do you view, it sounds like you do. I think you've already answered this question, but I just want to put it at you again. Do you view writing as a kind of spiritual practice?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. It's an opportunity when you write, whether it's, for me, it's an autobiography. I write nonfiction. And obviously that's because my stories, that's where I find the strength. But I think there's also when you're creating a fiction, I really honestly believe that you are creating that also from your soul. What message, ultimately, what's the message that you're trying to get out to the world through your creative work? Photography is, something I create. I capture a second in time, a moment in time. But like for you, Ryan, your book is fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an excellent read. So I'm going to give you kudos here because
thank you.
You need to, we all come from a different aspect in life. And what we bring forth in our written word is a message, whether it's coming from actual fact, like life experiences, or whether it's coming from your creative mind and your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Because together, we all have stories to share. And I admire you for creating the characters that you have in your book. I have your book behind me. You can't see it right now, but it's back there.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is that I admire the fact that you're that creative, that you have such depth in your characters. It's huge.
Well, thank you.
I admire that. And I think, oh, I need to learn how to write like Ryan.
It takes many, many years, many years. I totally agree with you with the more of a spiritual practice. I kind of stopped doing it for a while, and when you kind of do it every day, it definitely makes it easier to get through the day. You can process better. I feel more, I want to say even keel, if that's a term I can utilize. It just,
Yes.
yeah, it's like talking to somebody. I mean, really, it is. If you're, it's a way to process, reflect, and kind of be silly, be creative, be whatever you want to be, put it into those characters. And so fiction or nonfiction, I say write every day as much as you can, as much as time allows you to do it, because it'll only help you. In my opinion, it'll only help you makes you just I don't know, a better person in I guess would be maybe a poor term, but it makes you feel better, makes me feel better.
I think you're touching on something incredibly important here, and I think people all need to hear this. Uh, and it doesn't really matter what industry you're in, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you have a 9 to 5 or whatever. Okay. The thing is that we all have things to be grateful for, and we should all be taking time every day to write in a gratitude journal, because when it goes from your heart, your head to the written word, and you literally put it on paper,
Mm-hmm.
it sticks in your head differently.
It makes it real.
Okay. Yes, it solidifies the reality of what you just wrote. And even though we may not have, a lot, okay, there's always going to be people out there that have more than we have if you're looking at the material world. But what we have to be grateful for. Because when I was going through AA, one of the things they told me was, if you're complaining and worrying and whining about not having any shoes, think about the person who has no feet.
Yeah.
Be grateful you have feet
Perspective
that
is
you can
is
walk
very
on.
important.
And I wish I could remember who said that to me, but I don't.
Yeah.
But that has resonated with me for decades.
Right.
When you asked about me going and traveling, that was a reality when I saw people in Estonia that had nothing.
Yeah.
That they still managed to be grateful for what they did have, and that they worked together, and they traded, and they traded. I have chickens, you have milk,
Mhm.
let's swap things like that. When you go to Africa and you see that the babies have no clothes on, but they're thrilled to pieces that they have a plastic water bottle to play with.
Yeah.
And we didn't have anything. Or when they all get together and there's like we were there for only 3 weeks, but there would be a tray of food, and the big tray would be set on the ground, and the children would sit on the ground around the tray, and they would eat with their fingers that they had food.
Mm-hmm.
And they shared. They
Mm-hmm.
made sure everybody got something.
Yeah.
This is, we get so wrapped up in technology, we get so wrapped up in all the material stuff, but you know what? Bottom line is, Buddha had a quote. Let's see if I can find it real quick, because this is really, really a good way to summarize everything.
Okay.
I have my little quotes written down because, well, memory, Buddha has a quote. Here we go. In the end, only 3 things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of the things not meant for you.
Love it.
And that's Gautama Buddha who wrote that. It's been paraphrased a little bit for different people have said it, but the bottom line is that when we go, whenever our soul mission and goal, because we all have a soul mission and goal that we're here on the earth to learn, our souls incarnate into our body. Okay. So we're a spiritual being having a human experience. Okay. And in that human experience, we have a mission and goal here in the world. It's to create self-love, self-worth, and self-esteem. And how we build on ourselves is how we resonate and reach out to the others. If you have a loving heart, and most people do,
Mm-hmm.
we are in service to help one another, support that, and when you go, the one thing I do know is that you don't get to take anything with you. You don't get to take it with you.
No.
All you have is, you come into the world You have, your soul pops in, you go through your life, and when you leave with whatever is right here in your heart. And all the other stuff isn't going to matter. Because, in the ancient times, grave robbers took everything that was buried in the, Egyptian pyramids and stuff. Grave robbers took everything. They didn't have, you don't get to take it with you.
No.
But the one thing I do know, and I'm speaking from experience here, is that you take with you and you leave behind that essence of love. And love, like Michael has taught us, is the essence that has no boundaries. When I meditate, I hear my mom and dad. They've been gone for years, but I still feel their love. So think about the people that aren't here anymore. When you bring them up in your memory and you remember a special time, that's the loving memory that you have of that person being here.
Right.
That will always be with you. So when you leave, make sure that love is your legacy.
Fantastic. I love that message. So it's a great spot to actually conclude the interview. So I'm just going to do a quick recap for everybody listening in. Hopefully made it all the way through, because we're hitting about an hour right now, which is I definitely foresaw that happening, because Tiiu and I like to talk. It's a thing. She's got lots of great things to say, and I like to ask questions. So hence the interview thing worked out pretty well. So you're a very busy person doing mighty things for the Mighty Books podcast, if you couldn't catch that. So just recap. You are a photographer. You are I'm going to say a trauma coach. You're a trauma coach. And then you are also a author. So last, I know you said before, but I want you to say it one more time. Where can people get a copy of your book?
Best thing to do is go to healingtheholesinyoursoul.com.
All right.
That's a beautiful website. It tells you more about me, and my contact info is in there. And if you don't remember that, just go tiiunapp3@gmail.com. Email me and I'll make sure you get the link. I'll even sign a copy for you.
That's awesome. And just remember, it's close to Valentine's Day. So if you are a book reader, if you have know someone who loves to read, this will make an excellent Valentine's Day gift. It's got a beautiful picture of a rose on the front. So I highly recommend it. I myself have read it and found it very insightful, wonderful book to dive in and read. So Tiiu, thank you so much for being on our very first podcast interview.
Thank you, Ryan, for inviting me. I'm honored to be your first one. And I'm so blessed to know you. And thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share about my book and all the people that helped me put it together. You're an amazing friend.
Oh, thank you. As are you. So thank you very much. And this is us signing off. Take care and have a good day.
Are you an author? Do you know someone who is? If so, then message me, Ryan Oliver, at ryanmoliver.com to set up a free appointment to discuss being showcased on the Mighty Books podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the Mighty Books YouTube channel and share the link to this and more episodes with your friends and family. Thanks for listening. So long for now. Stay mighty and keep reading.